There's a row of plants that can make your house practically vanish from the not a fence, not a wall, just living shrubs that grow thicker and taller every single year until the road, the neighbors, and that ugly view across the way all disappear behind a wall of green. The best part? Most of them shoot up 2 to 3 feet a year, so you're not waiting a decade to get your privacy back. Today we're walking through 9 fast-growing privacy plants that turn an exposed yard into your own quiet, hidden corner of the world. Before we get to the plants, let me put a number in your head, because it changes how you'll look at every shrub on this list. A decent wood privacy fence, the kind that runs along the side of a typical yard, costs thousands of dollars to put up. And here's the cruel part. That fence starts dying the day it goes in. Wood rots, posts lean, boards warp and gray, and somewhere around year 10 to 15 you are writing that big check all over again to tear it out and replace it. A living screen does the opposite. It costs a fraction of a fence to plant. And instead of falling apart, it gets taller, thicker, and better looking every year you own it. You are not buying a fence. You are growing one, and it never sends you a replacement bill. One more thing worth saying up front. The trick to a cheap living screen is the same trick that works on almost any plant. Buy small. A young shrub in a small pot costs a fraction of the same plant, ball-dapped at 5 or 6 feet tall, and on the fast growers we're about to cover, that little plant catches up shockingly quick. So instead of 3 giant expensive trees, you buy a whole row of small ones, line them up, and let them do the growing for free. Let me walk you through the 9. Number 9. Emerald Green Arborvitae. If your yard is tight and you only have a narrow strip to work with, this is where you start. Emerald Green Arborvitae, sometimes sold under the name Smaragd, grows in a slim, upright column, roughly 10 to 15 feet tall but only 3 to 5 feet wide. That narrow shape is the whole point. It lets you build a tall green wall in a space where a wide, sprawling shrub would never fit, like between 2 driveways or along a skinny side yard. It holds a rich emerald color all year, which is exactly where the name comes from, and it keeps that color even through hard northern winters. This one is the cold country champion of the list, hardy roughly through zones 3 to 7, so it survives where a lot of evergreens give up and brown out. It grows a touch slower than some of the giants we'll get to, more like 1 to 2 feet a year, but you make up for it with spacing. Here's the budget play. Set your plants 2 to 3 feet apart in a straight line, and because each one stays so narrow, they knit together into a solid seamless hedge faster than you'd think. Buy them small, plant a whole row, and within a few seasons you have a living green fence standing at attention along your property line. And the quiet bonus? That dense columnar form is a magnet for nesting songbirds, so you're not just buying privacy, you're putting up free housing for the birds. Number 8. Hicks yew. Most privacy plants have one fatal flaw. They demand sun. Plant them in shade and they go thin, sparse, and useless as a screen. Hicks yew is the rare exception, and that's actually it earns a spot here. This is one of the very few screening shrubs that will fill in dense and full even on the shady north side of a house or under the high canopy of bigger trees. It grows in a tidy, upright column, about 10 to 15 feet tall and only 3 to 4 feet wide, with soft, dark green needles that look good every month of the year. Hicks yew is hardy through roughly zones 4 to 7, so it handles real winter cold, and it takes pruning beautifully, which means you can keep it as tall or as trimmed as you like. Here's the planting tip that matters most. This is your shade solution, so save it for the spot where nothing else will screen, that dim corner where the sun never quite reaches, and space the plants 2 to 3 feet apart to form a hedge. The female plants produce small, bright red berries in fall that the birds love, which is a cheerful surprise on a plant you bought purely to block a view. One honest word of caution though, the berries and foliage are toxic if eaten, so it's not the right pick if you've got grandkids or pets who treat the yard like a snack bar. Number 7. Skip laurel. If you want something a little softer and leafier than all the needled evergreens, skip laurel is the answer, and it's a workhorse. Instead of needles, it has broad, glossy, deep green leaves that reflect the light and give your screen a lush, almost tropical look. It grows about 10 to 15 feet tall and 5 to 7 feet wide, filling in thick from top to bottom, which is exactly what you want in a privacy plant. In spring, it throws out spikes of small white flowers that smell wonderful and bring in the bees, so for a couple of weeks your privacy wall doubles as a fragrant flower hedge. Skip laurel is hardy through roughly zones 6 to 9, and like the yew, it tolerates shade, handling everything from full sun to partial shade without thinning out. That flexibility makes it one of the easiest screens to place. Here's the spacing tip. Because it grows wider than the columnar plants, give it a little more room, around 5 feet between plants, and it will close the gaps into a solid green wall on its own. It's also a fast filler and shrugs off heat once it's settled in. The surprising benefit here is the scent. A lot of people plant a screen thinking only about blocking the view, and then they get a hedge that perfumes the whole yard every spring as a bonus they never saw coming. Number 6. Wax myrtle. This is the plant for the yard where nothing wants to grow. If you've got poor, sandy, or just plain difficult soil that has defeated everything you've tried, wax myrtle is built for it. According to Oregon State University Extension, it's a broadleaf evergreen that tolerates poor soil and takes well to pruning, which is a polite way of saying it's almost impossible to kill. It grows fast into a full, bushy screen around 15 to 20 feet tall, with narrow, olive-green leaves that give off a pleasant, spicy scent when you brush against them. Wax myrtle thrives in full sun and handles a wide range of conditions, including the salty air and sandy ground near the coast that would starve a fussier plant. Here's the planting tip. You can let it grow into a tall, loose, informal screen, or you can prune it into a tighter, more formal hedge, because it bounces back from a hard trim without complaint. Space your plants around 5 feet apart for a continuous wall of green. And here's the benefit that catches people off guard. Those small, waxy, bluish berries it produces were once boiled down by early American settlers to make the wax for bayberry candles. So you're growing a tough, no-fuss privacy screen with genuine pioneer history baked right into it. Number 5. Nellie Stevens Holly. If you live somewhere with brutal summers and you're tired of plants that wilt in the heat, this holly was practically made for you. Nellie Stevens holly is famous for being tough as nails. It shrugs off heat, cold, and humidity all at once, and it's remarkably resistant to the diseases that take down weaker shrubs. It grows quickly into a dense, broad pyramid of dark, glossy, almost lacquered green leaves, easily reaching 20 feet or more, which makes it one of the most reliable tall screens you can plant. Nellie Stevens is hardy through roughly zones 6 to 9, and it's about as low maintenance as a big evergreen gets, asking for almost nothing once it's established. Here's the spacing tip. For a true privacy wall, set the plants around 5 to 6 feet apart and let their naturally full shape do the rest, knitting into a thick barrier from the ground up. Now for the best part, and it's a good one. In fall and winter, this holly covers itself in bright red berries, the classic kind you picture at the holidays. They light up the whole screen against all that dark green, and the birds feast on them through the cold months. You get a privacy wall, a holiday decoration, and a bird feeder, all in one plant. If a living screen like this is starting to sound a whole lot smarter than another fence you'll just have to replace, do me a favor and tap subscribe. This channel puts out budget gardening and yard-saving guides like this every single week. Number 4. Wavy leaf ligustrum. When your number one goal is speed, when you want that ugly view gone and you want it gone fast, wavy leaf ligustrum, a type of privet's one of the quickest ways to get there. This is a fast, vigorous grower that fills in thick, almost before your eyes, reaching about 10 to 15 feet tall and around 6 feet wide. It has lush, glossy green leaves with a gentle wave to the edges, hence the name, and it forms one of the densest, most solid screens on this entire list. If patience is not your strong suit, this is your plant. Wavy leaf ligustrum is suited to warmer regions, hardy through roughly zones 7 to 10, and it loves full sun. Here's the planting tip. Because it grows so fast and so dense, you can space the plants a bit farther apart, around 4 to 5 feet, and trust them to close the gaps in a hurry. It also takes shearing extremely well, so you can keep it as a neat formal hedge or let it billow into a looser, more natural wall. The surprising benefit is the same one we keep running into with these screens. In summer, it produces clusters of small, fragrant white flowers that the bees and butterflies can't resist, turning your fast green wall into a buzzing, blooming hedge for part of the season. Number 3. Leyland cypress. If you've got a big, wide-open yard and a wide-open view you want to erase, this is the heavy hitter. Leyland cypress, sometimes sold as Murray cypress, is one of the fastest-growing screening trees in America, and it is not shy about size. Left to its own devices, it can shoot up to 60 or 70 feet tall, throwing up a towering wall of feathery, blue-green foliage faster than almost anything else you can plant. For blocking out a tall eyesore, a busy road, or a neighbor's second-story window, nothing fills the sky quite like it. Leyland cypress grows in full sun to part shade and likes a moist, well-drained spot. Here's the planting tip, and it's an important one. Because these get genuinely huge, give them real room, spacing them several feet apart, and plan for their mature size before you dig, not after. They make a spectacular screen, but they want space to do it. There's a bonus that comes with all that speed, too. You can actually keep a Leyland topped and sheared into a tall hedge instead of letting it run to 70 feet. And either way, it gives you a thick, year-round wall of green in a fraction of the time a slower tree would take. When you need privacy yesterday and you've got the space, this is the giant that delivers. Number 2. Ninabark. Time for something completely different, because not everyone wants a wall of solid evergreen, and not everyone gardens in a mild climate. Ninabark is a tough North American native shrub that brings color and personality to your screen instead of just plain green. Depending on the variety, it grows anywhere from 3 to 10 feet tall, and many of the popular types come in dramatic shades of deep burgundy, gold, or coppery orange, giving you a privacy hedge that actually looks like a designed garden feature. What makes Ninabark such a gift to the budget gardener is its toughness. It is incredibly cold-hardy, surviving roughly through zones 2 to 8, so it thrives in the frigid northern yards where half the plants on this list would freeze solid. It also grows fast, with some varieties reaching mature size in their first season, and it asks for almost nothing once planted. The planting tip is to space them according to the variety's mature width, and let them grow into a loose, informal, colorful screen. And the surprising benefit is the bark. As the shrub ages, the bark peels away in papery layers, revealing different colors underneath, which is where the name Ninabark comes from. That gives you something interesting to look at even in the dead of winter after the leaves have dropped, when most screens are just bare sticks. Number 1. Green Giant Arborvitae. If you only plant one thing from this entire list, make it this one, because Green Giant Arborvitae is the gold standard of fast, cheap, no-fuss privacy. This is the plant that does everything you want a living screen to do and almost nothing you don't. It rockets up at 2 to 3 feet per year, one of the fastest growth rates of any evergreen, and matures into a towering wall 40 to 60 feet tall and 10 to 15 feet wide. It holds a rich green